Autism Dad Social Club video podcast where I, your host, Frederick Jackson, am ready to take you on an unforgettable journey. Each episode is a heartfelt exploration into the lives of fathers navigating the beautiful complexities of raising children with autism. Get ready for an inspiring ride filled with practical insight, valuable resources tailored to families with kids with autism. Together, we'll shine a light on the extraordinary fathers who are reshaping the landscape of autism parenting through their unwavering dedication to fatherhood. Join us now on the Autism Dad Social Club video podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Autism Dad Social Club video podcast. I'm your host, Frederick Jackson. I am here today. We have a very special interview with one of our fathers that's in the club of the Autism Dad Social Club. We were able to sit in on an interview that he was having about his book that is out now. You will be able to see links below to purchase the book if you're interested. But let's go ahead and get right into it. And if you have any comments or questions, please contact us at the Autism Dad Social Club video podcast. Let's get to it. Enjoy.
Joining us today, my name is Jesse Esparza, and I am going to be moderating today's event sponsored by the Autism Dad Social Club. As we celebrate autism awareness in the month of April, I think it's important also that we celebrate organizations dedicated to understanding and to servicing this community. And it's important also to highlight the accomplishments of individuals who have contributed in very significant ways to understanding more the spectrum and the lives that it impacts. I want to thank the Spring Creek Barbecue location and restaurant for providing the space for today's event. I want to thank the Autism Dad Social Club for also sponsoring the event and hosting the event and planning the event. Andre and myself are both members of the organization, and for those in the room who are not members of the organization, please, we encourage you to join. We have information that speaks to the organization. We have sign-up information where you can provide us your contact information. But I'll tell you briefly that the Autism Dad Social Club is an organization made up of dads. It's a brotherhood of men who parent children on the spectrum, who hold several events throughout the years for dads and also for families. And it's about building camaraderie, community, and engaging and achieving uplift for the entire autistic community. And they, in many ways, are responsible, this organization is responsible for today's event. I want to thank also our partners and certainly all you in the audience who have come today to listen to this short Q&A, and then a few words from our author and the star of today's show, DeAndrae Hinton. DeAndrae Hinton, for those who don't know, is a dedicated father of two, including a son on the spectrum. With a passion for education and advocacy, he serves as the department chair in HISD and on the executive committee of the Autism Dad Social Club. DeAndrae's extensive experience in special education, including 10 years as a behavior support teacher, has equipped him with a unique perspective and expertise. He holds a bachelor's degree in special education from the University of Houston Clear Lake and a master's degree in educational leadership from the University of St. Thomas. Today, Andre shares his inspiring journey and valuable insights through his book, My Favorite Mistakes, with a line drawn through mistakes. So please join me in welcoming DeAndrae Hinton to today's Autism Awareness book talk. It's my pleasure to serve as the moderator. All right, so DeAndrae, let us know what it was that inspired you to write this story.
Okay. About 3 years ago, we decided that my son was going to live with me. He was originally living in Louisiana, and so he came down to live with Dad. There was just a big shift, of course, going from supportive parent to primary parent. And I always had a habit of writing. here and there. And I was writing about certain things that happened, certain situations that we've been through, and getting feedback from people, other parents of children on the spectrum, relatives of people on the spectrum, and just individuals that said this needs to come out. That parents need to hear about this. And just more and more feedback kind of motivated me, and being part of the Autism Dads Club and getting some feedback, from a couple of dads, ever since I joined last year, kind of throwing that idea out there and hearing some feedback from dads, and that kind of made me, get a little bit more serious about it and put it together to make it into a group book.
Oh, good. So it seems like your son in many ways is also an inspiration for this book. Can you tell us more about your son?
My son's 16 years old, and he's on autism spectrum. And he's a ball of joy. He's very social. He loves to interact with people. He actually goes to the school that I work at, so we definitely get to spend a lot of time together during the day, before and after school. It's been a roller coaster, honestly. Just going from supportive parent to primary parent, but then also parenting a child on the spectrum. But definitely been a lot of fun.
What are some of Dylan's favorite things to do?
Video games, technology is going to be the one, number one. Video games, technology. He definitely has a passion for music. So he likes creating music. He likes rapping. He likes, making beats and definitely listening to music all day long. So music is definitely his passion. He definitely loves technology. He teaches me things on how to control certain things and makes me feel like I'm the child, those definitely going to be his top two things. He loves sports. He loves playing basketball, and he's very, very active.
Is Dylan aware that you wrote this book, and I imagine that he is a character in the book? Is he aware of this? And if so, have y'all talked about that? What does he think about that?
Dylan has to be probably my number one sales promoter. Everywhere he goes, he's talking about it, and he even went out of town with his grandfather for Easter. He went to Louisiana, and he was just talking about it to everybody he knew, all of his family. He goes to school, he's talking about it with his friends, so he's definitely a really big supporter in the movement.
Well, good. That's beautiful to hear. So how long did it take you to write this book? And I mean from like conception, right, start to finish. How long does something like this take to do?
For me, I want to say probably a year and a half. And I would say more of the production was the editing than the writing. Like I said, writing was a habit of mine going back from high school. So when I actually sat down to write, I can do maybe 5 to 10 chapters in one sitting, but then never touch it again for like a month.
Yeah.
And then do it again, and then like finally finish, but then actually sitting there and editing word for word, sentence for sentence, that takes longer than the writing.
I want to expand a little bit more on the writing process. Let's talk a little bit about that. Do you have any specific writing habits or writing rituals? Do you try to write daily, or I know you mentioned I'll write something, I'll engage in marathon writing, and then I won't touch it again. But is there something you try to build into your, what is already a busy schedule? How do you find the time to get any work in towards this project?
So, definitely has to become a little bit more disciplined to work around work schedule and working in the school. So a lot of it's done before school, after school. I would suggest one thing that I learned through writing this book is that, for anyone who is interested or aspiring to write a book, is that I would write the book prior to coming up with a title. A lot of times if you have a title first, you kind of write towards what your title is versus getting whatever you want to say out and then give it a title after that.
That's great advice, I think. Were there persons who you identified that that you wanted them to read drafts before you, did anybody put eyes on it before to help you?
Yeah, a few people. Like I said, I shared some of it with parents that I knew who had children on the spectrum. There's people who had siblings that were on the spectrum, and just other family members, or even new parents of kids that were on the spectrum. And so I would send little pieces to them just to get their feedback. But again, I want to say, Jonathan, one of the founders of the Autism Dads group, definitely someone who I valued. Whenever he got a chance to read it and give me feedback, knowing his background in education, knowing his background in, as a father of a child on the spectrum. So I definitely wanted some feedback, and he was able to give me some really great feedback, and was a key part of helping me complete it.
That's good to know. I want to talk about feedback. Was there ever a time where the feedback, sort of affected you in a way that you did not hope? Was the feedback always positive, or was it?
No, it wasn't. And yes, it was. Like some feedback did affect me negatively, I want to say, or at least unexpectedly, not necessarily negative. Because again, I feel like all of it was constructive, and it was, meant for me to improve the book versus just a blank critique. But yeah, I had some that definitely made me understand certain things about writing a book. The flow of the book and making sure things kind of went in a specific direction. You don't want to have a topic that starts off at the beginning of the book and then it doesn't even pick up again from the end of the book. So it's kind of like you have to really look at the flow or the theme that you're trying to. It's almost like telling a story within a story, with where you place certain things in the book. And so, I got feedback on before, kind of like my rough draft, and it was like, kind of highlight how I was all over the place with certain things. I was like talking about, I mentioned something, but I didn't expand on it to a certain point. So just kind of rereading and then going through and taking certain parts and putting it in different places where it made more sense to keep the flow right. That's kind of, what I definitely had to hone in on.
Right on. And so when you're writing this book, are you writing with a specific audience in mind? Like who do you want to read this book? Who should be reading this book?
Well, like I said, a lot of the inspiration came from, me joining the Autism Dad Social Club. And so a lot of the times we meet up in fellowship and, and have these open discussions. And, they're full of questions and answers from all over, and people being able to answer certain questions. And then, me working in the education system, and I get a lot of questions from the dads that showed up to our meetups. And so with that in mind, I was thinking about putting together a book that was pretty, straight to the point, not too long, for dads to read and to become a resource for the fathers out there that are raising children on the spectrum.
Yeah, so dads raising children on the spectrum would benefit from reading this book, certainly. Make sure you get your hands on My Favorite Mistakes by DeAndrae Hinton. But besides dads who are raising children on the spectrum, who else do you think could benefit from reading this book?
I think teachers, because I did speak on a little bit about my time in the classroom and in specifically behavior support classroom, in which I got a pretty good opportunity to observe a lot of different behaviors, a lot of different disabilities, and mental disorders, and how they affect other students, how they affect those on the spectrum, how they affect the educational environment. And I was able to reflect on some of the things I've learned and how I use certain lessons that I've learned raising my son, and I implement in the classroom, and vice versa. Certain lessons I learned from the classroom, I'm able to bring that back home and try certain techniques with my son. And then just parents in general, mothers as well. I get a lot of feedback from moms saying that they've learned a lot from reading this book as well, or even passing the book along to their husbands and having them read it, or anybody who's just dealing with children or people on the spectrum.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I would also offer, if I may, that first responders, I think, might benefit from reading this book. I think about law enforcement and EMT and persons like that. I'm also inclined to offer that other community helpers, when you think about people operating clinics, for example, pharmacies, things of that nature, they would also benefit, I think, from getting their hands on My Favorite Mistakes. And then, thinking of my own kids, I have 4 kids, one on the spectrum. I think that even my own children who are not on the spectrum, I think, could benefit from this. So it's really a serve everyone kind of book.
Yes.
I would offer. And so, and if you read that, then you're probably saying, yeah, that's exactly what it is. And if you haven't read it, I imagine you'll conclude what I've concluded, that this is really a book for everybody to read and benefit from.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, this book here, My Favorite Mistakes, it raises important questions about parenting somebody on the spectrum. I want to talk about that for a moment. And I'd like to know your thoughts on that topic. If you can kind of walk us through, from when your kid was diagnosed and what that meant for you and your partner and what that means now. If you can kind of take us through that, we'd be happy to listen to that.
Yeah, so, again, he was diagnosed early on. Part of his diagnosis, or part of his early diagnosis was due to him also having some medical complications when he was born. He was born 3 months premature. So there's a lot of developmental delays mentally and physically. So he had a few surgeries in the hospital even before he was able to come home. He also had some after he got home. We had to bring him back for a few times. So I want to say kind of softened the blow a little bit on the diagnosis, because it was like we've already had to deal with a lot of the medical diagnosis, so it was like another one. Pretty much it wasn't. A lot of parents are fortunate enough to have that be the only diagnosis that they're dealing with, but for us it was like, not after, but kind of in between a lot of the other medical surgeries and procedures, then the diagnosis came. Also, that's during the time when I was studying special education. And so I had a few classes on, raising early childhood individuals with autism, children with autism, and other disabilities. And, so it was kind of already, a subject of mine that I was actually, studying and reading about. So when we got the diagnosis, and I understand it's different with everyone, as you know, we have our meetings and dads share a lot on how they felt when they first heard the news. And so for me, kind of being already involved in it, it was, for me, it was more so plan on how to deal with it versus that initial reaction of why or whose fault it is, or So going through that, and then also I was blessed enough to have a lot of resources from straight from the hospital even before he came home, to where we were able to get him in therapies the moment he was of age, and pretty much hurry up and have a full plan towards what accommodations he may need, even when he starting school.
So, and forgive me if I asked the question this way, but this is the only way I know how to ask it. Why write the book then? Could it be perhaps because you found it therapeutic? Did you find this process to be therapeutic for you, or does it do anything else with any anxieties you might be feeling? What has happened with this book, and now that it's done, right? Now, before you get to the business of having marketed, what has that done for you personally as you remain on this roller coaster ride of emotions?
I can actually 100% agree with you and say that some of the times that I was writing, it was therapeutic. Different things going on in life as I'm writing, going home and diving into working on this project and speaking on certain situations that we've been through, and also just keeping in mind that it's going to help someone as soon as I was done. So, like I said, that definitely helped with certain things that actually went on, and even certain situations in the book that I was writing in real time. So, like I said, it was definitely therapeutic for me. Definitely an outlet. During the frustrating times and confusing times. Sometimes I would reread it and figure something out while I'm editing, like, oh, that was probably the answer to that question the whole time, or the situation, I should have done this the whole time as I'm editing the part where I'm writing, you know. So, and it was definitely a chance of reflection too, you know, completing it, just having to listen to it or read it so many times over and over and over. It's like, you know, it automatically puts you back into those certain times and situations where, you know, I got motivated to write about it.
You know, I appreciate what you said there about, you know, it's sort of serving as an outlet during frustrating times. I don't maintain a journal, but, you know, it's almost like I'm always dealing with the idea, flirting with the idea of I should write things down as I experience them. I'll tell you what, man, it sounds like that's what you did in many instances to get this book done. And I imagine if we all did the same, we probably all have our own books here before we realize. And so, but I appreciate you saying that. Thank you for saying that.
Hello, we would like to thank you for joining us today at the Autism Dad Social Club video podcast. We hope you found today's episode inspiring and insightful. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, leave a comment, and share this podcast with any parents that may benefit from this discussion. Stay connected with us on social media and visit our website and for any resources and support that we are offering. Until next time, keep advocating, keep connecting, and remember, you're not alone in this journey. See you soon. Thank you for joining us on the Autism Dad Social Club video podcast. We hope you found our content insightful and engaging. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on our latest videos. If you enjoyed this podcast, give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family who might benefit from it. I'm your host, Frederick Jackson, saying until next time, keep learning, growing, and embracing the autism journey. Take care, and we'll see you on our next podcast.
Disclaimer: the content presented in Autism Dad's Social Club video podcast is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Autism Dad's Social Club as a whole. The information provided in this podcast is not intended to substitute professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Viewers are encouraged to consult with qualified professionals regarding any questions or concerns related to autism or parenting. Autism Dad's Social Club disclaims any liability for any loss or damage arising directly or indirectly from the use of or reliance on the information provided in this podcast.